How far can racial discrimination go, even in the highest positions? Stay with us to discover the shocking story of the arrest of a respected judge and why this could change our perception of justice. A white police officer stops a black judge, accusing him of stealing the car he drives. Jamal Laces had spent the day deliberating in a high-profile case that had taken weeks to resolve. As a judge, he was accustomed to the weight of justice on his shoulders, but that day the verdict had brought him a sense of satisfaction. His ruling had been fair, and he was convinced it would set a new standard for future similar cases. After a long day in court, Jamal decided to drive through his peaceful neighborhood on the outskirts of the city. The streets were lined with well-maintained gardens and large houses, his neighborhood, the place he called home. He drove an elegant black sedan, a car he had worked hard to afford. It wasn't ostentatious, but luxurious enough to reflect his success and good taste. As he progressed along the road, his mind wandered to the upcoming week in which he would have another complicated case. Suddenly, flashing blue lights appeared in his rearview mirror. Jamal sighed in annoyance, looked at the speedometer. It was well within the speed limit. What could it be about? He signaled, pulled over, and watched as the police car stopped behind him. As the officer approached, Jamal rolled down the window. A white police officer, Karen Mell, approached with a stern expression, her hand on her gun holster and a suspicious look. "License and registration," she ordered curtly. Maintaining his composure, Jamal handed over his documents. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked curiously. Officer Mell did not respond immediately, but examined his papers with exaggerated attention, as if trying to assemble a non-existent puzzle. "Is this your car?" she asked in a doubtful tone. "Yes, it is," Jamal calmly replied. "Is there a reason you've stopped me?" the officer asked. She looked him up and down with narrowed eyes. "We have received reports of suspicious activity in this neighborhood, and this car matches the description of one that was reported stolen," she said. "You live around here?" added Jamal, feeling frustration but maintaining his calm. "Yes, I live here, and I can assure you that this car has not been stolen." Mel smirked slightly, dismissively. "We'll see. Get out of the vehicle." Jamal hesitated for a moment. He had seen situations like this before, an officer assuming the worst based solely on someone's skin color. But he was no ordinary man. He was Judge Jamal, someone who had spent years upholding justice. Still, he knew it wasn't the time to argue. He slowly exited the car, keeping his hands visible, placing them on the hood as Michael ordered. Jamal felt indignation grow inside him, but complied as the officer searched him. She didn't miss an opportunity to make sarcastic comments. "Nice suit. Are you a businessman, or did you steal it?" she mocked. Jamal clenched his jaw, knowing any response could worsen the situation. The officer inspected his car, rummaged through the glove compartment, under the seats, and even searched his briefcase. By then, some neighbors had come out of their homes, watching the scene with confusion and concern. Jamal felt the humiliation of being treated like a criminal in his own neighborhood. Finally, Mel returned. "Everything seems in order," she said sarcastically, "but I need you to come to the station to clarify this." Jamal looked at her incredulously. "What justification?" "I don't like your attitude," she responded. "Something here doesn't add up. We'll resolve it at the station." Jamal, having endured enough, replied, "I suggest you think carefully before making a grave mistake." Before the situation could escalate further, Jamal took out his phone and made a quick call. While he waited, another car arrived marked with the police department emblem. A man in a suit got out of the car with a grave expression. "What are you doing, Mel?" he asked urgently. "Just doing my job," she replied. Although her confidence was starting to waver, the man sighed deeply. "This is Judge Jamal, one of the most respected judges in the state, and you've illegally detained him." Mel's face paled as she realized the mistake. "I didn't know," she thought. "No, you didn't," the man interrupted. "You judged a black man in an expensive car and assumed the worst." Jamal watched in silence. He had been wronged, but beyond that, he had witnessed another example of how racial prejudices influence judgment. Mel, with an expression of fear and regret, said, "I'm very sorry, sir. I didn't realize." "You didn't realize who he was?" Jamal completed. "But that shouldn't matter. The way you treated me, the assumptions you made are unacceptable, no matter who I am." The man in the suit promised that Michael would face disciplinary action, but Jamal asked that she not be fired. Instead, he demanded that the officer understand the gravity of what had happened and that the department take real measures to prevent something like this from happening again. "Today could have ended very differently for both of us," he told Mel as he walked away. Jamal reflected on how frequently situations like this happened to people who didn't have the power to demand accountability. He knew this was just a small victory in a much bigger struggle, but it was a beginning. This story highlights the dangerous consequences of racial profiling and the prejudices that can influence even those in positions of authority. Officer Mel's assumptions about Judge Jamal Hayes, based solely on his appearance and the car he drove, led to a situation that could have escalated into something much worse. Her actions serve as a reminder of how preconceived notions can blind people to the truth and result in unfair treatment towards others. Judge Hayes, despite having been humiliated and unjustly accused, chose patience and wisdom instead of reacting with anger or demanding that the officer be fired. He used the opportunity to teach a valuable lesson, which underscores the power of restraint and the importance of seeking systemic change instead of personal revenge. The judge's response shows that true leadership and justice lie not only in punishment, but in creating opportunities for growth and education, even for those who have wronged us. This story urges us to reflect on how deeply ingrained prejudices can affect judgment, especially in critical roles like law enforcement. It is a call to action for all of us to question our own biases and work towards a fairer society for everyone. What would you do in Judge Hayes' situation? Do you think he handled the situation correctly, or would you have taken a different approach? Share your thoughts. If this video has helped you connect more with yourself and inspired you on your path of growth, like and subscribe to the Vidas Inspiration channel to discover more stories that will fill you with motivation and hope. I would love to hear your opinion, so leave a comment telling me how this story has impacted your life or what reflections it has left you with. And if you think this message can inspire someone you know, share it with your friends so they too can find inspiration and purpose in their lives.